Yo, it is Sunday. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all safe and hunkered down and all that good stuff. Whatever it is we are doing in the world today, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, safe and hunkered down. Have a cup of coffee. Might as well talk about our Pixel Tank game, right? Might as well talk about our Pixel Tank game. What am I doing? I finished 2 missions finally. The one where I was trying to get 6 kills. I'll get that video out in a little while. And then pretty quickly, I did the next mission, which was fairly easy. 3,000 damage, I think it was. I even got it in a loss. So real quick, got those 2 knocked out. So I've got the mission number 15. This is for the Chimera. The last mission for the German-Japanese coalition. And then the last mission for the U.S.-UK. So the German-Japanese, it's really strange how they've got them set up. That one's about 3,500 damage, and there's something else in there. I think it's by type, maybe mediums and heavies or something like that. And then the American one is 6,500 damage. I don't know, go figure. So I figure I'll get the Chimera fairly soon. That'll be cool. Let's see, next stream, I don't know, possibly tomorrow night. I'm trying to get hooked up with StackUp, so get on their stream team, and I'll then be streaming Monday nights from, I want to say, 6 to 8 will be my time slot, I'm pretty sure. And then I'm planning maybe Tuesday, if that's my actual day off. My schedule is in complete flux at work. I have zero idea what it's going to be. I should have a little more time off than normal, but I can't say. So based on the whole situation we got going on, I don't know. It'll be more pop-up, but I think Monday nights for a couple hours is going to be a fairly regular thing. So stay tuned on that. Of course, you'll see the notification go out. And once I get that locked down, I'll start advertising it on the channel and all that good stuff. You can see in my garage, I've got the 3D style for the Su-130 called something I can't remember. It's on sale. We'll talk about it in a minute. $15 or some crazy thing. Look for an interview tomorrow, Tuesday, with Damien from Damien's Gaming. It's going to be fantastic. I had a chat with him yesterday. Really funny guy. It's got a great Twitch stream, so I highly recommend his for kind of just really entertainment. Right? I was going to say it's goofy, but it's not goofy. It's lighthearted. They have a lot of fun. He plays mid-tier. He plays some upper-tier stuff. Does a lot of platooning. There's a lot of give and take. But look for that interview and then check out his stream because it's pretty good stuff. I am still at 30 tanks until I catch them all. So 30 more tanks. I've got to figure out how to get some more slots. We do have, I may have to end up buying them because we do have, we'll talk about it, 1.9 is in common test right now, which means it's relatively imminent. We'll go over what that means for the game later on, but I need to have all the tanks bought before then, just so I can, once they get all reworked and some are removed. I don't know if any are removed, but anyway, I want to just make sure I've got everything that I could get before all the changes happen right there. All right, that is it for what's going on with me. Be looking to get that Chimera fairly soon, guys, fairly soon. Let's move on to missions and specials and get our shill on. I probably shouldn't do that. I think maybe the coffee got to me early today. I have been actually researching for about an hour today, so I may be a little bit more hyped up on the caffeine than usual. All right, bear with me. Here we go. Let's shill. Yeah, 7501 is still on sale. Talked about it last week. It's a solid heavy from the front, and that's about the best can be said for it. Altai Fox. That is the 3D style for the Su-130. PM, you can see that it is $14. You can put a coupon on it if you have it. So I can knock that down, I don't know what, to a little bit less than $14. Anybody buying those? I think the price is too high. I asked the question to Domo. He gave me the answer that I've heard from them consistently. So that's their answer. It costs a lot, relatively, more than you would imagine to make these. I feel like there's modders, skin makers, whatever you want to call them, people who've made all kinds of styles on their own who would probably do this stuff for free. Not free, sorry, for a lot less than maybe the professionals they're paying to do it. I don't know. Maybe they've got an agreement with some 3D house that's doing all their styles, and the price is the price. In any event, Let me know if you bought one. This is not a, hey, so we can make funny. I'm just curious. Has anybody actually, no kidding, just bought a 3D style because they loved it so much? Anecdotal evidence says yes, because they continue to offer them. So there you go. I don't think they'd continue to show up in the store if they were selling none of them. So clearly, they're selling some of these things. At least anecdotally, that's my guess. Okay, blah, 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 the ×5 things. Now, there were some interesting things here. Let's look at the gold. Here's something I didn't realize. I kind of looked at it, and I never really clicked on it. You can trade gift. Did you know this? You can trade gift cards. So you have a gift card to Chick-fil-A, and you don't want any daggum Chick-fil-A, but you're hankering for some gold in World of Tanks. Well, you go here, man. You go. This is crazy, isn't it? You go here. You click on this. You go to purchase. You go to continue because it actually goes to a third pay garden, which is I've heard of, but not really ever investigated. And it goes to this place. Eventually, it does take a while to load. And then you select the card you want to trade in. Look at this. Home Depot. I don't know what Ulta is. Walmart, I know that. Williams-Sonoma. Isn't that paint? Or something? You can trade your Yankee... Look, this is... I am completely on board. This is fantastic right here. Okay, guys. You get into the Frow's stash. All right? When you're tired of smelling the candles 24/7, probably really bad right now because we're all locked down. I bet there's like 80 candles going on in most people's houses right now. They probably even bought an antivirus candle. You never know. But go find her Yankee Candle gift card. Don't do this, guys. I'm just kidding. But you could. You can trade your Yankee Candle gift card. Oh, man. Honey, where'd my Yankee Candle gift card go? Oh, no. I gotta go buy a new tank, though. GameStop. Oh, that's ultimate, isn't it? Screw you guys. I'm just going to use this for tank stuff. The Gap. Are they even open anymore? I don't know. That's hilarious. Golf Galaxy. Is that an online thing or is that an actual store? Oh, don't trade it for Guitar Center. If you play guitar, do not go get a new guitar. Anyway, there's all kinds of crazy, isn't it? You got to love that. You have to actually love that. I think that's really cool. Anyway, I'm imagining 95% of you already knew that. But there you go. Okay, back to the premium shop. Second thing I wanted to show you on that, I think it's on here. This, I appreciate it. It's been a while since I checked this. Remember I always whined and complained about the verbiage down here and how you didn't know you weren't going to get gold or whatever. Check this out. If you already own the T45, you'll receive 150,000 credits in compensation. Golf clap for wargaming. That is clear, concise, and correct communication right there. You're not getting the gold. You will get this. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Wargaming. That is how you do it. This is how you do it. All right. Nicely done, fellas. Nicely done. Ladies, whoever did it, whoever had that brainstorm. Took you long enough. Anyway, let's move on. Let's not delve into that pain from the past. Loza's tank is still out there. We've got some various Czech tanks that you can have. This is an interesting tank, the T40. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's like a VTU at tier 6. It's really strange. Hard-hitting tier 6, medium, very soft, very large. Sturv 81's out. That is essentially the Primo Victoria without the skin on it. The Lorraine, the Even 90. Been an interesting... We're going to talk about this, I think. I'll get to this at the end, depending on how long it takes me to talk about the upcoming stuff. But we may get into this as the forum post of the week, because there was an interesting forum post in the forum about the Even 90 that had some really good discussion in it. All right. Nothing really else going on there, and then specials are the same stuff. So we're in a bit of a pause X here for a lot of the specials and things. Nothing really to mention. Obviously, you can get a Su-130 if you want to. Then those are the things I wanted to touch on there. So let's move on to what is happening missions-wise. All right, sneak peek for April. So what's coming up in April? Man, we are almost in April. Isn't that unbelievable? You know, April 1st is right around the corner. It's the 29th today. Battle Pass Season 1 goes on to June 9th, so that's ongoing. You can see, or you could have saw, I can see, in my garage, I'm on level 45 on that. Remember, I bought the 20 package early, so I've done 25 levels of this since it came out, March 18th or whatever it was. So that goes to June 9th. We have the global map for Clan Wars. Some of you may be doing this. Tank Rewards is back, so that SA, that intel was correct. We, the CCs, are already signing up for our days. So it is looking like April 1st it'll kick off, so we can get some of those nice personal reserves. It says consumables, blueprints, decal. Oh, wait a minute. Interesting. Oh, that's, sorry, Tank Rewards. Sorry, that's Tank Rewards, not Scavenger Hunt. Not Scavenger Hunt. I may have just let the cat out of the bag. Oops. Anyway, Tank Rewards is coming back. Tank University missions. Look at this. We gathered your feedback, and all vehicle courses are available simultaneously for the entire month of April. That was something everyone complained about. I didn't care, but a lot of people did, and they fixed it. The Big Lebowski is going to be the next tank on track from the 5th to the 20th. The Big Lebowski, the Polish line, all right? Tank Mastery, blah, blah, blah. Frontline is back on the 6th. Not tomorrow, Monday, but the Monday after. So get your tokens for your tank. I will be playing that a little bit to get at least 2 tokens because I would like to get the Char Futur 4. I'm not going to get 2 of them. I'm going to only be able to get 1. It's going to force me to play that other mode I can never remember the name of that I don't like at all, but we'll see what happens. All right, World Health Day. Well, that's apropos, isn't it? That's on April 7th and 8th. There's going to be some kind of mission. I like how they show the small kit. Okay. Berlin Anniversary. Battle of Berlin. This is something I didn't really think about too much. It's interesting because it says the diamond anniversary of the battle that ended World War II in Europe. And that's true, actually. It wasn't something that the Allies... Well, it was something the Allies did, but it was one particular ally. I mean, essentially, the Russians brought a close to the war in Berlin. It's not something I think we in the West think about too much. We just say, ooh, we won. We helped to win World War II. But really, the final battle was, no kidding, the Berlin battle. So that is going to be April 16th to May 2nd. That's coming up relatively soon. So there'll be events. April Premium Shop offers, you can take a look at those. The ones I thought were interesting, the Eagle 7's coming back. That's pretty cool. I think that's a good deal. The 50 TP prototype later in the month, and the Suma. The rest of it is kind of meh, to be quite honest. And then April weekend events, different XP and things. Where was the... That must be somewhere else. The anniversary... Where is that? Must have read that somewhere. The anniversary, the Wargaming 10-year anniversary is this year. And I want to say it's in April or May. Maybe it's May. But there should be some big events coming up for that as well. Every year they do something big. I think we've been getting tanks a lot of times. So look for those. I'll report those when I find them. I'll report those when I find them. This is... There's some kind of... I couldn't quite make heads or tails of this. There's some kind of competition between the Object 277 and the Super Conqueror. Is this tied into the rewards thing? I don't know. I'll look into this later. I just kind of came across it a few minutes ago, and I couldn't quite figure out what the heck's going on. I saw the video about a week ago, or maybe 3 days ago, I suppose. And I thought, oh, they're just making some kind of weird video, but I didn't realize it was tied in with something. I have absolutely no idea what it is. Maybe later on a break here, I'll take a look and try to figure that one out as well. So that's going on. A lot of stuff going on. You know, when we talked about how much stuff's going on, we'll get to it in a minute, but there was a Q&A kind of thing going on. And one thing they asked was, you know, why are there so many things overlapping? And they said, well, because of the DDoS attacks and several things being delayed or canceled, they decided to do them all as opposed to ship them all to the right on the calendar. So that's why we have a lot of overlap right now. They just decided to knock them out. So I guess that's as good an answer as any, and works for me. At least they're trying to get them all done. This weekend is a ×3 experience, weekend bonus and missions. I don't know why this part's red and the other isn't, but there you go. We'll get to that when we get into the UI here in just a moment. And the rest of this we're going to talk about. Ranked is still going on. That ends, I think, on the 4th. So this week, what is the 4th? Is that a Monday or what's going on with that? The 4th is Saturday. All right, so Friday, basically, it ends. They did extend the ranked hours, guys, by 1. For some reason, prime time on the weekends was an hour earlier. Because everyone's home, I think. They've basically shifted. So for the rest of ranked, prime time starts an hour earlier. For me, Central Time, it's 5, 1700 to 1. So 5 to 1 in the morning. So that's okay, fine. We got an hour. I don't know why they wouldn't even shift it 3 or 4 or whatever, but they didn't. So get your ranked stuff going on if that's what you're trying to do. Remember, that's the Kampfpanzer 50T is the reward for that one. All right, I think that's all of that I wanted to talk to. Excuse me, let's go into the UI. All right, missions. There is no event right now. As you can see, it's blank, Battle Pass. Here I am. I'm on 45, just about to trip and start to get the bonds and things, so that's pretty cool. As far as missions go, we got the on-track, standard multipliers. We got the weekend bonus. These are the missions that I was just looking at. Do 10,000 damage, get these goodies. Looks like personal reserves. Damage on your spotting, 10,000, get these. You can do these twice a day. That's nice. Didn't realize that. And experience well earned, it's 10,000. What do you got to do for this? Play a battle and just get 10,000? Oh, you need these. All right. Well, well, well. Okay, guys. So this one you're going to have to watch closely. Looks like you're getting these tokens each time you do this. It looks like what I have done, I've managed to get 4 of them this weekend. So I need to get 2 more. But I believe that once the game you trip that on, the game you trip that on, it should be the next one that gives you the 10,000 experience. That's my guess. That's usually how it's mech'd. So watch that closely when you're getting close to getting your 6th. That's going to require a little fiddling, getting in here and looking at what's going on. Watch it closely and make sure you play the tank you want the 10,000 on. Doesn't matter to me because I've unlocked everything, but you guys are probably grinding some things. Watch Salute's still ongoing. That's the standard thing we've talked about. Twitch Prime Challenge is still going. I've actually finished that. Probably most of you have as well. And then other missions is the standard ×5. So not a whole lot else going here. We got the daily stuff. We've talked about that multiple times. Looks like I got a kit and 70,000 worth of silver. Look pretty nice. Is the premium the same every time? I don't know. I know this is always bonds. I think these might be random. I need to check into that. Don't know. Plop it down there in the comments, guys, if you know if these two change. I know this is always 25 bonds, at least I'm pretty sure. Okay, so that's the UI stuff. Not a whole lot there to break down. Let's go ahead and... Scavenger we talked about. Gift cards. Excellent. Let's go to subjects du jour. All right. I hate it when I do that. I just did like a 10-minute section without having the website up. It was really good too, man. It was really good. All right. So we're going to start with common test stuff, and then we'll get into the article that talks about what's coming up in 2020. What is coming up in 1.9, which is in common test? New Balance. Well, I mean, is it New Balance or is it half New Balance? Is it slightly off balance? What's left? Because the big parts of New Balance have been binned. Have been binned. But what we are going to get are a couple new vehicles, which are going to fill in because they're going to streamline the tech trees. They're going to take out a bunch of tanks in the streamlining, and make them collector's vehicles. You'll still have access to them when you unlock certain areas, but they won't be in the tech tree, and they won't have modules to unlock and things like that. That's why I'm reporting on how many tanks I have left to get, because this whole reshuffle. I don't know if they're actually removing some. I can't remember if some are just plain old being removed. Hit point rebalance. So the big piece here is that tier 1 to 6 are going to get a buff in hit points to make them last longer in battle, so that it's a little slightly more interesting gameplay at lower tiers. Okay, that was fairly well received. What that means is they're going to have to increase some ammo racks and other things to get more shells, because in theory, if you last longer, you shoot a lot more and you could run out of shells. So I think that's a decent idea. There are some notoriously low shell count tanks, even though it's kind of a Seal Clubber, the T-67 and the Hellcat, both kind of land in that area and amongst others, which is an interesting thing, because if you're going to increase the shell capacity past non-historical into non-historical territory for game balance, how about a little love for the Manticore there, Wargaming? You can come off the it's for historical reasons thing now. That's so far back in the rearview mirror that it's not even funny. So how about we just start doing game balance stuff with ammo racks and such, and the rest of the characteristics of tanks. Obviously, try to keep them as close as possible to make them interesting, but you know, some things are going to have to be changed. I don't know how we got into the Manticore, but we did. We may get back to that a little while later. There's the tech tree changes, and you can come down in this article and look at all the different things that are going on. You can actually click on the different tanks. Actually, that's pretty nice. Nice design right there. I like that. You can actually just go right to the tank. Pretty cool. Well done, Wargaming. I like that. Website development, people. Lovely. Boot Camp has some bonuses and changes. A new video, a new medal. Don't care, but anyway. Ooh, movement physics, interaction between vehicles and some types of obstacles. I don't know. That's not really broken down what that means. Is that improvement on soap rocks or some of the other issues that we have? How about this one, guys? How about this one? Wheeled vehicles can now turn at a sharper angle when driving in reverse upon releasing the forward key and holding the left or right key. I'm not supposed to touch my face. I just washed my hands. What do you say, man? They have a problem with the wheel tanks. They know it. It's been brought up several times. They're kind of alluding to it here and there. And so they buff them. Granted, it's in reverse. Granted, not many people drive around in reverse, but they do if you're trying to get out of a place. So now the high-skilled players who are creating complete havoc in games, in the top-tier EBRs, have another trick, or a better trick, up their sleeves. An actual buff, slight as it may be, a buff to wheeled tanks. What are you doing, Wargaming? That is idiotic. It is. It's tone deaf. What in the heck? Look, man, is it going to change the whole dynamic of the game? No. But, bro, you've got to... Why are we even discussing this? How is this even a thing? I can't wrap my mind around it. I cannot wrap my mind around a buff to wheeled tanks, even as slight and little as that one is. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Somebody up there, this is their pet project, and they are not going to let it die easy. That's just my thought, my little observation on watching large organizations operate and watching them do things that are counter to common sense, that when you dig in a little while, you start to understand it's personality driven. Otherwise, I cannot figure out the justification for that little tidbit right there. Anyway, I don't get it. I don't get it, man. All right, let's move on. Alrighty, this is an article that was on Wargaming's portal. A lot of times I go to the various blogs to get this because sometimes there's some expanding info. We're just going to look at it from what Wargaming gave to all of us as far as their No Kidding official article. New Balance, the next steps. Remember how I mentioned Is it really New Balance now? I don't know. It's half balance. Anyway, will those? This is also kind of a Q&A to some extent. There's some questions answered as we go through this. Will those players who purchased and researched a vehicle that became a collector's vehicle be compensated for the spent experience? I don't know why you would expect that. That's ridiculous. You unlocked the tank and you bought it or you didn't. Either way, that's whatever. I guess I sort of get it, but I never once went, ooh, I should get all my experience back. But being a collector, I look at it differently. In any event, they say no. If you've already researched the vehicle, they will keep it or the ability to buy it, which means that they will not lose anything when it becomes a collector's vehicle. Yeah, it's a sunk cost. You already did it, man. They're just changing it around. This kind of thing is one of the things that keeps them from doing a lot of the balance that they need to do, especially on premiums. The fact that as soon as they start messing with things that people have already unlocked, it's this giant screeching, you can't do that, it's unfair thing. Well, dude, it's the good of the game. It's the good of the game. How about we back off that a little bit? Now, I don't want them to just nerf into the ground things people paid for, although some of them need that. At the same time, I don't want to not touch things simply because they paid for them or unlocked them already, so that we can get some balance going on in the game. So we're going off on a tangent right there. But anyway, blueprints, this was interesting. Popular feature says, for example, if a tree of some nation is already researched, but you still have national blueprint fragments and universal, oh, by the way, I have a bunch of, you can't do anything with them. That is correct. I cannot do anything with them. Really, they should be able to be sold. They should be able to be sold. Or I suppose another option is to take a whole bunch of them and turn them into other nationalities or something at a just very high rate, i.e. requiring a lot of them to make one. Again, that doesn't help me, but I'm a very unusual player, having unlocked all the tanks. There's plenty of us out there, but as a percentage of the player base, it's not very high. So it's something they're working on and thinking how to solve it in a way that benefits everyone. So they're working on that. There's no details. That's just kind of we're thinking about it. This one killed me. Once again, currently special shells have an ultimate advantage. Correct. They have too much pen. Period. I don't know what to tell you, Wargaming. That's your problem. Too much pen. You don't have to look any further than that. I don't know. It's pretty easy. Some of them have too much pen. Some of them have too little for the current game system. Anyway, there are whole subtypes of vehicles with good dynamics and gun handling that benefit the most from premium shells. You think? However, these shells make well-armored vehicles with supposedly good survivability suffer. Correct. Which in turn means that the impact of those well-armored vehicles in battle is reduced. Also correct. Currently, our main goal is to give these vehicles more weight in battle and help them play a more important role thanks to their survivability. Right. Okay. On the Sandbox server, we tried decreasing the DPM of special shells, and it was received well. It was received well if we separate this particular change from the rest of the New Balance changes. What? Such as what? What are you talking about? We still have a lot to do related to shells, correct? For example, we still need to work on HE shell. Wait a minute, what? Wait. That doesn't say anything. First of all, it wasn't received well. And I don't know what New Balance changes you're talking about you would separate it from. I don't know. It didn't work, bro. It was a bad idea. It doesn't. All right, Wargaming. Take your special gold premium shell, whatever you want to call it tomorrow, and across the board reduce the extra pen by like 50% on every shell and start from there. And then start to adjust, because some of your APCR shells are probably going to have a little bit more added back onto it. Especially for the ridiculous heat shells, which are probably the biggest problem, punching through every thick armor it can find. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. Your problem is you have two wildly different pen values. That's the problem. Fix that. Don't worry about the rest of it. That's your problem. All right. HE, they talk about the HE. It didn't work. If a shell penetrates, the logic must be close to the armor-piercing shells, and we are moving in this direction. Okay. Yeah, I think that taking away the pen was the thing people didn't like about the HE change. That one seems easy to me. I think you reduce the huge hits, get rid of the gigantic hits, tone them down a little bit, make the HE, and probably get rid of some of the low end hits, and make it less RNG, wildly different. See, there's a kind of a trend here, Wargaming. When you have RNG like we do, the thing that people are complaining about is the wildly different effects. Tighten up the tolerances a little bit, and I think you're going to get a lot less complaints about it. Artillery. We will not remove stun from allies. Oh, lovely. But we will check the settings of the stun system. I don't know what that means. Stun as a mechanic will not disappear. Great. We can't go back to armor-piercing shells like it used to be in the good old days. That wasn't your problem. That was a subset of the problem. The problem was getting hammered by artillery for huge chunks of damage, which you have fixed, sort of. Then you added stun, which nobody likes. And now we're justifying that we're not going back to AP, which is never really was the issue. There will be no premium artillery. Hallelujah. But we will continue working at SPGs. All right, so I don't know. This has kind of gone to the back burner. Artillery, I won't say it's not a problem. I still don't like 3 artillery stunning and slapping me constantly. But all of a sudden we have bigger problems in artillery. That's pretty interesting that we've allowed the balance to become such a problem with gold shells and just the balance of the game in general, with overpowered tanks and prize tanks and all these other things going on, that we've actually backburnered artillery, which has always been almost the #1 issue. That's good. Crew 2.0. This, holy macaroni. This is the one I'm worried about the most, especially with the garage like I have and the amount of crews I have. Again, I'm a very small percentage of the player base, but I am not looking forward to having to try to re-wicker all of my crews. And what I'm reading here is not making me feel any better. Crew 2.0 is a complex system. All right, fail. So for the very first sentence, they failed. Didn't they tell us that the reason they wanted to change the crew system is because it was too difficult to understand? Now, it may be that what they are creating is something that they think is going to be easier to understand. And it may be that it's got enough complexity to be interesting. But the packaging of the message, when you came into this telling us that we wanted to fix crews because they're complicated, and then your first sentence here, Crew 2.0 is a complex system, that's a messaging failure. It just is. And I don't know if this is a translation thing or who's writing your stuff. I don't know, man. But it's just, I don't know what to tell you. That's crazy. Still working, developing various concepts, blah, blah, blah. As soon as we have an acceptable solution for both players and our team, you will definitely have the opportunity to try out all the possible changes on the Sandbox Open server. All right, cool. Summer 2020. The version of 2.0 you'll experience on the Sandbox is nothing more than an experiment. Test our ideas. Please note that any proposed changes may not make it to the final iteration. Noted. That's how Sandbox has always been. What to expect. All right. This is awesome. We will implement a new entity, the unit. Some people's units are bigger than others, all right? There we go. It will comprise 4 crews. Oh, God. Each commander can be trained to a particular vehicle. Okay, so it looks like commanders are for specific vehicles. All crews within a unit are united by nation vehicle type. For example, medium USSR tanks. Okay. Units have levels which determine how many perks the unit's commanders can learn. Wait a minute. Each commander can be trained to a particular vehicle. Units have, so the level increases the number of perks that command. Okay, but there's 4 crews. Each commander can have their own set of perks and skills. Okay, in fact, a crew can be assigned to 4 vehicles. Oh Lord. So I have 500 vehicles. Probably close to that many. Let's call it 450. Let's call it 400 crews. I think you can start to see my issue with having to rewicker them into groups of 4 teams with separate commanders, and oh man, all right, there will be so-called special crews. this, this is where I start to understand my 4th grade teacher wife when she's reading, but more specifically my son's high school teachers, because I have watched him write, and he's a good writer. But at the high school level, when you say good writer, it's just somebody who uses a lot of different words. But this is one of those examples. There will be so-called special. Are they so-called, or are they actually called special crews? I think you guys determine that. I don't. I don't know why that's so funny to me. So-called special crews. These are counselors, okay, who will strengthen the commanders. So I think what we're talking about here is all those special crews that we have that have 0 skill and blah, blah, blah. There's going to be a corollary of some kind in this system that make their commanders better. So there's some kind of bonus to experience or an extra skill or whatever, much like the special crews we have, or special commanders, that kind of thing. So that's they're going to have to figure out a way to give you some kind of credit for all those kinds of crews. Well, based on what we just talked about, do they have to? No, but they're probably trying to. So I think that's what's going on there. So-called special crews. Okay, it is complex, actually. The perks system will be significantly reworked to include more perks, which will each have a level. Okay, more grinding, that's cool. Perks will be divided into 5 branches by analogy with crew members. I don't know what that means. With each branch ending with 2 ultimate perks to choose from. To learn them, a player will have to work hard on the branch. Are we talking about like driver, gunner, loader, radio, or something like that? I'm not really. By analogy with crew members. I guess so. I guess that's kind of what that means. So the perks are still divided like that somehow. And then there's a super perk at the end, or skill, or something like that. This right here. So let's get into what they should have done. Much like we just talked about with premium shells. That's the key. What happened is there was there was no iterative improvement of their crew system. It's languished for ever. The last update was when they changed from just repairs, firefighting, and camo, I think, were the first 3 original ones. And they added the extra perks. But there's probably 50% of them, I guess, just off the top of my head, that are useless. Maybe it's 40 or 30%, but there's a significant number that nobody ever takes because they don't matter. They're ridiculous. Who cares? They don't work. They're useless in the game, basically. If you get to there, you get your 12 perk crew, then fine, put them on there, but by all means. But there's a very specific set that are the best, and players figure that out over time. It's min-maxing. I know some of you guys hate that word, but that's what it is. It's figuring out whatever the best build is. If you don't like min-max, best build, okay? For whatever tank it is. And as a general rule, it's kind of the same for most of the tanks, with some small changes depending on the type of tank. And people have figured that out. So what they did is they let that system languish, and they didn't add perks or improve or nerf ones that are too good, or improve ones that were kind of crap, or just remove and put new ones in. If there was some way they could have done that incrementally in an iterative way over the years, that would have been great. But now, like most large corporations, they see they have a problem, and they got their mallet when they need a scalpel, and they're going to smash that bug, baby. They're going to smash that bug. Let's just reorganize this whole damn thing. Not required, guys. All you got to do is improve some of the crappy ones, or remove them, or add some new, more interesting ones. I would have streamlined, I think, the crews. You know what they could have done? The best thing they could have done is make every crew 4 people. Make every crew 4 people with the requisite things there for them. really simplifies it. All right, I had to go fill up the coffee cup, and then I had to go hang out on the porch a bit. The Frau. All right, we're back. Let's see. So finishing up the whole crew thing. We'll test the system. Some of the new perks will resemble the old ones, and situational perks will be added, which will reflect the player's behavior. For example, a perk that speeds up reloading when the vehicle durability is low. Okay. A total of 35 perks are planned, 10 of which are ultimate. We shall see. I hope it works out. The main rule, a crew makes the gameplay more enjoyable but does not provide a considerable advantage. I think that is generally true even right now, minus when you get to the higher tiers and you have certain specific perks and skills that you kind of need to be effective at the higher tiers. I can still play decently in a tier 9 and 10 with a 2 or 3 skill / perk crew. And I think that's a good thing, actually, in the game. What I've always liked about this game with most of its bonuses, is that they are very small in general. And while they do provide an advantage, especially if you're good, if you're very good, small advantages count more. But as a general rule, the advantages are quite small, and they don't overpower gameplay. Like I said, a general rule. Still, good crews at high tiers are important. I'm not saying that's not true, but you can play, tier 6, 7, and 8 with crews that don't really have any skills other than 100%. You want to be 100%. Is it the best way to do it? No, but it can be done. We'll see how it goes. Diversity will increase, and stronger perks will be used situationally. I don't have any idea what they think that means. Every time this company says situationally, I just want to poke myself in the eye. But let's not get into it. All right, equipment. I kind of liked this. They want to diversify the usage of equipment and move away from identical standard setups. I think that's a good idea. Add new types of equipment, influence new characteristics that were never affected before. Okay. Yeah, be careful, because then it makes it useless. But there was a piece in here that I thought was interesting, because here it is. We think vehicles should have slots for certain equipment types. For example, one for gun handling, another for concealment or defensive equipment. So the reason people don't use a lot of the equipment is because there's a best setup. If you make the slot for a specific bonus, then you can probably increase the usefulness of the equipment. Right? If you had a concealment section that was either a camo net or moving camo or whatever the piece of equipment is going to be, that would kind of artificially make it more useful. You would probably like to have your old system where you could use all gun handling stuff. But at least in this case, it makes you make a choice amongst the equipment that can go into that slot. That's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. Equipment slot properties will be based on roles. There will be no restrictions for setups, but some equipment will be available only to certain types of vehicles. All right. There will be no penalties, only improvements. The bonuses will not be too strong. So I think that's pretty good. Then they get into this kind of question and answer thing. They're talking about the high price for unmounting improved equipment at 200 bonds. The unmounting price is set to what it is to not reduce the value of equipment to prevent players from moving their gun rammer from vehicle to vehicle and have them save up bonds to purchase new equipment. Okay. I don't know why that's a thing. Anyway, you don't really have that going on with the other equipment, so what's the point? Because 10 gold is almost nothing. Anyway, however, the introduction of mounting equipment, there you go, will return to the unmounting issue. Why is it an issue? I don't understand why it's an issue of people moving their equipment around to tanks they want it on. That makes zero sense. Including the one for improved equipment, it will be resolved with the player in mind in any case. Sure it will. Maybe by increasing the bond earnings. So it's you just told us it's done this way without the player in mind. You want to make it cost prohibitive. That is not the player in mind. Okay, that's the definition of not the player in mind. Then you tell me you want it to be with the player in mind. We'll increase bonds. Well, that's not going to make people spend 200 bonds. It's going to make them get more equipment faster. I don't know. Roofer Mare has been removed. Yeah, I didn't realize this. You can't get demounting kits from the missions right now, the personal missions. That's interesting. And they said, we will add the ability to receive demounting kits. We're currently testing how daily missions work and if everything is okay with them. What on earth what testing is required to put demounting kits in the daily missions as a reward? That makes no sense, my dogs. After something out there. So that's a BS sentence. I don't understand what you're trying to tell us there. That's ridiculous. Just put them in the daily missions. Or have they decided, ooh, we don't want to get rid of the 10 gold sync? Is that really where we are? That's weird. Ranked battles is coming 3 engaging seasons. There's an opinion that only researchable vehicles should be allowed in ranked battles. Yeah, this has been going around a bit. Reward vehicles earned for activities on the global map and for personal missions should not be allowed. Very interesting. So the overpowered things. This is one of those things where we dance around the actual subject, right? We got this little kabuki dance going on here. You guys are talking about wanting just tech tree vehicles, but it's not mentioned that the reason is you keep giving overpowered tanks to good players. I don't know, man. What? That's none of my business, though, right? Or maybe it is. Right now, we do not have a unanimous opinion on this issue. Who's we? Wargaming, you and the mouse in your pocket? I think we do. One of the possible solutions is to use the matchmaker for the purpose. I think that's a bad idea, but that is also debatable. So yeah, that's just going to make it go longer. What they're talking about is limiting the number of 270s or chieftains or whatever. How you determine how many of those should be in a game, I don't know. And then once you admit that I have to matchmaker limit stuff, you've admitted that they're overpowered and they're a problem. So since they were never able to do that in this little area right here, I doubt they're going to make a matchmaker solution. Any new rule extends queue time. That's always the answer. It's true, but it doesn't address the problem. At the same time, players of ranked are already limited by the number of players, servers, yada yada. So that's more about the queue. For the time being, this is great. You're going to love this. For the time being, the developers and players need to come to a consensus on this issue. Oh, really? Since when? I don't remember. I don't know. Consensus. Players, developers, and players. Okie dokie. So far, everything is under discussion. All right, fair enough. I think the players have spoken. The only players that are not speaking are the ones who have the tanks and like decimating everything else when they play them. All right. Vehicle rebalance. They are going to go into several tanks. They have announced the E100 and the IS-4. Looks like they're going to do the E100 line. So the 3601, E75, Tiger 1, and Tiger 2. Interesting. But I don't think you need to buff the Tiger 1, guys. That thing is amazing. And Tiger 2 could probably use a little love. KV3, KV4, and ST1. I don't see anything wrong with the KV3. KV4 might need a little bit of help. The ST1 is good, so I'm not sure what's going on there. T32 absolutely needs more pen. It's been the Achilles heel of that tank for 8 years, 10 years, whatever it's been that the pen's never been touched. M103, pretty good tank actually. 110E5, definitely. That one's a hard. Remember when they buffed it to completely overpowered and then nerfed it again? That was crazy. Finally, we aim to consistently adjust wheeled vehicles to stop them more effectively when they're hit. Hallelujah. And that is probably one of the biggest problems with them, minus their special auto aim and laser accuracy. Very interesting. This one I will keep an eye on because I'm very interested in that. Never mind that you just buffed them for the reverse. That's okay. Options for rebalancing wheeled vehicles. Players have a hard time hitting the wheeled vehicles. So it should be fixed in the first place, you think? The effect of damaged wheels is minimal. It insufficiently affects the overall maneuverability, you think, and mobility of the vehicle. It needs to be fixed, and we'll take care of it this year. I look very much forward to this going on, and I bet a lot of you do too as well. Here's the 10th anniversary. It is in April. I think I might have said May. But it's April 2020. There's going to be lots of content, pretty cool stuff. This disappoints me. They're going to pardon, little phone thing. They're going to pardon banned players. No, thank you. You can leave them banned, but I get it. It's a nice gesture. Is it going to be permanent? Is it for a couple days? I've heard several things. I don't know. We'll keep an eye on that. I'm not sure what's going on there. They're talking about battle formats as far as kind of an esports, even though they say it's not esports, it's amateur. The 770 will not be the new esports, but rather Watt Sports for amateurs. What? Newspeak. I love this. Whatever. This is the thing that they did over in EU when they did the Twitch streamer competition, which 7v7 at tier 10. So that's what it means. 7 tanks with 10 tiers. Or 7 tier 10 tanks versus 7 tier 10 tanks. We'll see how it goes. That might be interesting. Here's where they said about the DDoS attacks, and they just wanted to do everything in a row. Bond shop. Looks like every 6 months is what they're planning on for the bond shop to change over for new tanks. So start collecting them bonds. I've got 7,000. I'm about to get some more for the rewards for merit, or whatever it's called right now. So that's cool. 15,000 is about what it takes for a tier 10. Hopefully there's some cool tanks available. I really hope that all these tier 9s and Clan Wars reward tanks and stuff eventually make it into the bond shop so regular players can get a hold of them who don't do all these other modes. I know that's going to irritate the competitive guys, but that's what I hope ends up happening with this. Let's see, there's some textures and slippery objects that they go into this. You know, there are some places where you can zoom in and you actually are hitting part of the 3D model. Even though you can see through it, your shell is going into it. That happens a lot with dead tanks when you're near them. And there are certain areas on the maps where it looks like you have a view through a little crevice or an edge or something, and you're actually shooting right into the hitbox of whatever that terrain piece is. Some of those are known, some of those aren't, as far as I know anyway. A lot of you guys know exactly where some of them are. They're trying to fix that, but they talk about it being a problem with third party. They call it their engine, and then third party. So they've cobbled together this game from different things, different pieces of software and coding. So they're trying to figure all that out. The slippery rocks is the thing where you slide around on rocks. I don't know, man. On the one hand, I don't like the spider tank thing where guys can hang off of edges and punish you. You know, looking down at 80 degrees and things and not falling off. But at the same time, I don't like that you go zinging off some rocks, like you're on ice or something. That there's a fine line there, so I think they're trying to work on that. And that was pretty much that, man. That was a lot. All right, let's move on. So the last thing we're going to do is the forum post du jour. So this is Scorpiani. He put a review out for the ELC Even 90. I highly recommend it. It's more data. Take a look at it. It's on the forum. So he's got some good information on the ELC, and he's got an opinion about it. He doesn't like it that much, which I like it, and I think it's good. So he says it's bad. I say it's good. It's fine. We both have our opinion, but I highly recommend you read it. It's got the third best win rate for Tier 8 Scouts. It's actually arguably objectively via its stats, its performance, a good tank, much like the Brit light tanks that we've talked about, even though its stats, if you just looked at the paper stats, are pretty bad. So that's not necessarily what we're talking about. We got this guy, Lee Universe, who actually plays a lot of Scouts. Pretty good player. He doesn't like it. He hates it. And his point is that the stats are bad. And then Pig, Lee, and I kind of get into it. And it was a good discussion. There's actually a lot of interesting stuff in there. So I highly recommend you read that, because the point of what I want to talk about is what's interesting to me on this. We'll get to my post right here. What's interesting to me on this discussion, and I've seen this a lot lately, really vis-a-vis the Brit light tanks, but the ELC Even 90 was kind of the prototype for the issue we had here. And it happens a lot with all tanks that get released, but we get this thing where you'll find out the stats of a tank and people will start prognosticating about whether it's good or not. And that's a thing. That's fine, too. You can look at the stats, and oftentimes you can come to a reasonable expectation of it either being good or bad. But for me, you can do that, and you can make your prognostication. You can make your educated guesses. You can do your review and all of that off of just stats. But you have to be willing to look at it once it's released into the wild, into the pubs, to change your mind if in fact it actually isn't bad, or it's bad and you said it was good. Whichever way that ends up going, you have to be willing to look at it from that objective standpoint and not just stand on its tank stats are bad, not its performance stats, i.e. how it is doing in the game, but the stats, the dispersion, the alpha, the DPM, all those things. And what we get is we get these legends of these tanks that are good or bad, and nobody wants to then kind of revisit it and go, what, was that true? What are they really bad? Well, in the case of the Even 90, objectively, no. It's performance in the game, and oh, by the way, it's the most played tier 8 light tank. It's so bad that it is played twice as much as any other tier 8 light tank. That's how bad it is. People hate it. They don't want to touch it. I mean, even that piece of information, even that data point, let's say it was in the bottom half of performance, which it's not, or even near the bottom, it's played twice as much as any of the others. So clearly somebody likes something about it. But in the case of the Even 90, it's near the top in its performance stats, and it's played twice as much as any other tier 8 light tank. So for me, when I look at that, and this is basically what I said, is I have a hard time wrapping my mind around it. So what gets really, really interesting, and the same thing happened with the Brit light tanks. People looked at the stats. They said they're terrible. A lot of very good players said they're terrible. They continue to say they're terrible to this day. But the performance stats do not support that in any way, shape, or form. But so the last thing I want to talk about is the most fascinating, most interesting part of it to me is when those players start to justify and rationalize about how they did well in those tanks. They'll look at it and they say, stats are X, Y, and Z, it's a terrible tank. And then they'll look at their own stats where they did as good as any other tier 8 or maybe even better, tier whatever it is really in the case of the Brit light tanks. And then they'll start making these bizarre rationalizations. Well, it's still a bad tank. I had to play it wrong to do well. I had to be very careful and, make sure I lived and do things, I had to not prioritize DPM, and that's the only reason I did well. I mean, when you say it out loud, and when you objectively, rationally, logically think about that kind of rationalization about why someone did well in a tank, you just have to go, what are you talking about? As if there's only one way to play the game. Thou must do as much DPM as possible. If you cannot do as much DPM as possible, it's a bad tank. Yeah, but it wins at, it's in the top 3 in win rate, and it actually does about the same amount of DPM as other tanks, and yada, yada, yada. You were a good player. You did actually better than some of your other tier 8 lights that you say are better. But the reason is you had to play it wrong? I mean, it's hard for me to not let this go. It's hard for me to let this go because it is such a cognitive dissonance. It's incredible. It's incredible. And I know I've talked about it multiple times, but it kind of keeps coming up here and there in the forum. So that was the forum post of the day. So thank you to Scorp for putting that out. He puts out some good guides. I would definitely check out his stuff and his guides. And you may agree with him that it's a bad tier 8 light tank. But I just thought when you objectively look at its performance so far and how popular it is, it's clearly not a bad tank. Now, our individual likes, those are important. And we can certainly go, hey, here's my guide and I like it or don't like it. But to do the cart, and that's not what Scorp did. I'm not saying that. When Lee Universe came at it, that was sort of what he did. Now, if you read the whole thing, I'm not going to say he completely backed off of it, but he did look at it and go, you know what, I actually am doing pretty good in that. Then good on him. You know, I don't think he necessarily agrees that it's a great tank yet. And Pig kind of chimed in as well. But I just thought as an overall thing, it was really kind of an interesting discussion. Whatever side of it that you come down on, give it a read, and it might get you thinking one way or the other right there. All right, so that was that, guys. Well, all right, friends. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. We're going to edit this bad boy, get it out to you guys. We should see, well, hopefully I get to Miserable Monday today. I'm kind of a little bit behind the 8 ball on things I've got to do, but we'll look at getting Miserable Monday out and some videos next week. There will be the interview coming up on Tuesday. Check that out with Damien from Damien's Gaming. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully I'll get some streaming going on at least twice this week, maybe 3 times. We'll see how it goes. That's all I've got for today. Here's to you guys. Hunker down. Stay safe. I hope you guys are all well, you and yours. That's all I've got. We will see ya.